So the sky and the earth were complete. Everything that was in them was complete. On the seventh day, God had finished his work that he had done. He rested on the seventh day after all the work that he had done. So God made the seventh day a special day. He made it special because on that day he rested after his work. When he had created everything, he rested. When God had created everything, he rested. That means that he did not create anything else. It does not mean that he did no more work. Genesis tells us that God did many more things. Many people nowadays keep one day in each week special. Some keep the first day special because Jesus Christ rose from death on the first day. Other people keep the seventh day in each week as a special day. This is the story of the sky and the earth, which God had created. When the Lord God made the earth and the sky, no green plants were on the earth. No crops were growing. The Lord God had not yet sent rain to the earth. Also, there were still no people, and so nobody farmed the ground. Then a mist rose out of the earth, and it watered all the ground. And the Lord God made a man out of dust from the earth. He blew the breath of life into him. The man became a living person. Chapter 1 told us the story about how God made everything. Chapter 2 tells us more details about how God made people. And it tells us about the garden that God made for his people. The plants that man needed for his food were not growing. There were two reasons for this. There was not enough water for them, but God could send that. There was nobody to look after them, and man could do that. So God sent water as mentioned in verse 6, and he put man in the garden as described in verses 7 and 8. God's work and man's work were both necessary. In many things that we do, God's work and man's work are both necessary. God made a man out of dust, so he made man's body out of things that he had already made. He blew the breath of life into him. This means that he made man alive. If an animal has breath, it is alive, but the Hebrew word that means breath also means spirit. So this verse also means that God put man's spirit into man's body. Man is different from animals because he has a spirit. That's why man is like God. See Genesis 1:26. We do not know much about these two special trees. See Genesis 3:22 in the comment. People use a spice to give more flavor to food. Onyx is a special stone. We do not know where rivers Pishon and Gihon were. Rivers called Tigris and Euphrates flow through the country that today is Iraq. We can be sure that God made this tree for a good purpose. Perhaps he intended that men and women should eat its fruit later at the right time, but it certainly made Adam and Eve distinguish between good things and evil things. See the comment to Genesis 3:22. If you eat that fruit, you will certainly die. The Hebrew words say, in the day when you eat it, you shall die. But the real meaning of this is, certainly when you eat it, you shall die. Adam and Eve did eat the fruit. See Genesis 3:6. They certainly did die, although they did not die immediately. However, die might mean that their spirit would die then, their body would die later. God makes woman. After that, the Lord God said, "It is not good that man is alone. I will make a helper for him. His helper shall be suitable for him." Now the Lord God had made out of the ground every animal on the earth. He had made every bird that flies in the air. He brought them to the man so that the man would name them. Whatever name the man gave, that was the name of each living animal. Adam gave names to all the tame animals. He gave names to all the birds that fly in the air. He gave names to all the wild animals. But none of them was a helper who was suitable for Adam. So the Lord God made Adam sleep heavily. While Adam slept, God took a bone out of Adam's body. Then he closed the place in his body. The Lord God changed the bone that he had taken from Adam. He made the bone become a woman. He brought her to Adam. Verse 18, a helper means a person who will work together with another person. It does not mean a servant or a slave. We know that because the word helper can mean God. Exodus 18:4 says, "My father's God was my helper," and the Hebrew word for helper is the same word. Verse 19, God had told man to rule over all the animals. See Genesis chapter 1 verse 28. So God did not give names to the animals. God let man do that. Adam is a Hebrew word that means a man. It is also the name of the first man. None of the animals was a suitable helper because they are not like man. God made man as an image of himself. Man is similar to God. Man has a spirit, but animals do not have spirits. Man rules over the animals and he looks after them. And when man works with animals, they are his servants. So they are not the helpers that man needs. The bone was a rib. A rib is a thin bone in the upper part of the body. Then Adam said, "This at last is my bone, and it is part of my body. I shall call her woman because she came out of man. Therefore a man leaves his father and his mother, and he and his wife join. Then the two people become one body." Adam and his wife were both naked, and they did not think that it was wrong. "This is my bone" means this was my bone until God changed it, and "it is part of my body" means this was part of my body until God changed it. The Hebrew word for a woman sounds like the word for man. The two people become one body. From the beginning, God intended that a man should have only one wife. But after this time, many men had several wives. And from the beginning, God intended that a man and his wife should stay together. But after this time, some people divorced each other. Jesus referred to this verse and he said that people should not divorce.